So good evening, students. Welcome to the next session of financial management. And today's topic we have, that is capital structure. Okay. Now, in this topic, basically what we gonna discuss, it's all about the optimum or the best combination of your debt and equity or the various source of capital which the company always maintain in the organization. Okay. Now, what should be the right balance of your debt and equity, or we can say the capital structure or the composition of your debt and equity? These particular concepts which we will cover up in this particular topic. Now, in order to understand the basic component or the basic, you could say, pattern in which the company always maintain its capital structure, there are certain theories given by different, you could say, financial experts or economic experts. Now, the basic theory when we discuss about this particular capital structure, the firm always need to plan about their optimum capital structure. Now, when I use the word optimum, it means that the company must need to choose their debt and equity combination or proportion in such a manner so that their market value per share should be as maximum as possible. Okay, so always remember, whenever we are talking about capital structure, it means that the optimum capital structure. Optimum means the value of your share should be as maximum as possible, or the so that the, you could say, the marginal, you could say, costing which the particular person is incurring on that, it should always be equal. Means whenever the cost is increasing, proportionately your benefits, or we can say your earning, should increase in such a manner. Okay. Now, it is basically more about a decision which is taken by the company's owner, which is taken by the shareholder of the company or the co-owner of the company, that what should be the right balance of your capital. Okay, whether it should be more permanent as compared to debt, more debt as compared to equity, or what is the right combination of debt and equity which the company need to maintain. It totally depends on company's profitability, their future revenues, company size, future growth, competitors. There could be n number of reasons. Because of that, the company may decide whether they have to go for what sort of combination of debt and equity. Okay. Now, as we already discussed in the previous classes, what is the meaning of debt capital and what is the meaning of equity capital, and what would be the various combination of this thing. Clear? Now, the major four forms of capital structures are equity share capital. Only means the owner is the only one who is introducing or who is just increasing the capital in the business. There is no loan, no debt at all. Second combination would be equity and preference shareholders. Third may be equity and debenture, I mean debt and equity. And fourth may be the combination of all three: equity, preference, and debt. Okay. And I think in the last class itself, we have already covered up about what is debt capital, what is equity capital, what is the preferential capital, and how to calculate its cost. Okay. So please note down these four basic forms of capital structure. Okay. If it is clear, then we'll move to the decision making of capital structure decisions. Okay. Or why this particular capital structure decisions are extremely important in the organization. Note it down, please. Shall we start? Yes, friend. This four form of capital structure. If it is clear, then we'll move to the next part about principle of capital structure decisions. Or before going that, we'll start about the importance of capital structure decisions. Importance of capital structure decisions. Okay. Shall we start, please? I think yes. So let's move to the next slide now. And the next topic which we have to start, that is about the importance. Now, when we discuss about the importance of capital structure decision, the first and foremost thing which come in the mind when it's come to any financial decision is about capital budgeting. What is capital budgeting? Anyone? We discussed already in this class. What is capital budgeting? Hanji. What is capital budgeting? No.
So it is a long-term investment.
Is it a long-term investment in any capital assets, which may be land, building, machineries? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much. Now, basically, capital budgeting always leads with, because the first and foremost thing in any organization is basically your capital budgeting. The next thing after capital budgeting is basically, because whenever the company need to purchase any asset, any land, any building, you need sources of fund. Need long-term sources of funds. Definitely. Now, how this fund can be designed? It is basically the part of your capital structure. So definitely, like for example, if you need to purchase a machinery costing 50 lakh rupees, you always will search for the sources from where you can arrange that fund of 50 lakh rupees. Now, that 50 lakh may be arranged in the form of debt or maybe in the form of capital. That decision is come under category of your capital structure. Clear? Everyone? Ajay. That will come under capital structure decisions. Okay. Now, these capital structure decisions are basically of three types. Okay. The number one is basically either it is for existing capital structure, it is for existing capital structure. Okay. Second, it may be for dividend decisions. And third, it may be for your debt equity mix. What combination of debt equity which we need to maintain. So clearly we know that whenever we are talking about any capital structure decisions, these capital structure decisions may be related to the existing one, or dividend decisions. For example, if the company is looking to give more dividends, so definitely they can go for higher preference share, higher equity shares. But if they are not keen to declare dividends, definitely they can go for higher of debt as compared to equity, so that they need to pay only interest obligations on the same. Okay, so these are the basic decisions which we are talking right now, which comes under capital structure decision making. Is it clear, please, everyone? Is example clear? Okay, now under debt and equity mix, definitely what exactly we do, because debt and equity mix decisions are always based on two things. Okay, earning per share and risk factors. As you know that, like being an investor, whenever we are investing in any company, the important consideration about debt and equity mix is all about what should be the effect on the earning per share of the shareholders and what are the risks associated with the same. Now, on the basis of that only, we can say that these particular components are always associated with effects on cost of capital, because it totally depends on what type of combination you are choosing it out. Okay, according to that, the decision, like we discussed in the last class as well, that it will affect on the capital of the company. What is the cost which the company need to incur? That is effect on the cost of capital. Okay, now these cost of capital decision making will definitely decide decide value of the firm. Okay, always remember, because cost of capital is the most important decision in the organization, and that decision is based on the capital structure, and capital structure based on the capital budgeting decision making. I hope so. The structure is clear. This flow is clear. Why the capital structure, cost of capital, even capital budgeting are all interrelated topics. Am I clear, please? Yes, students. Am I clear? This importance of capital structure, why it is basically the core part of any company, and this capital structure depends on this capital budgeting and cost of capital. Is it clear? Students, please kindly confirm so that I can proceed further with the next topic. Shall we?
Yes, sir.
Fine, fine. Thank you. Now, the next part, which we have the principle of capital structure management. Okay. So there are certain guidelines, certain, you could say, the base building blocks, which we have when we talk about this capital structure decision making. The first part is the cost principle. Now, when we discuss about the capital structure, the ideal combination or the ideal part of the capital structure is one which will actually minimize the cost of capital and maximize earning per share. Means the sources from where we are arranging the funds should be as cheaper as possible, and the earning per share, the profitability of the company should be as high as possible, which the company may achieve. There is a fall the cost principle. Second is part risk principle. If the company can take higher risk, they can go for debt capital. If the company can take lower risk, they can go for equity capital. Third part, control principle. If the company owners want to maintain more control over external parties, they have to go for higher equity. But when the company want to lose their control over management, over decision making, they may go for higher debt as compared to equity. When we come to next part, the fourth principle is called the flexibility principle. The flexibility principle always guides us about what is the perspective or the, you could say, proactiveness of the management of the company when it's come to their future requirements. For example, if the company want to go for diversification, company want to go for expansion, or any sort of, you could say, increase the capacity of the company, in such a case they always need to think about that is it possible that the company may change their capital structure, or is the company may arrange some additional fund whenever it is required. Okay, so flexibility principle always actually help the company in order to alter their existing capital with the new one if it is required in the future. Okay, the next one, timing principle. Okay, for example, if the market condition, economic conditions are very fantastic, okay, now once you will invest in the markets, definitely the share price would be on the higher side, and you might have an opportunity to earn as many as you can. Okay, but so it's very principle about timing is all about, like when we talk about the market is on boom, you go for equity. If market is on recession or some downfalls, go for that. Okay, so the five major principles, or the you could say you could say the building blocks, decision making block, which we always need to keep in mind whenever we are taking any decision about the composition of your capital structure, that is debt and equity. Clear? Yes, students. Is it clear?
Okay, sir.
Clear? Sure. Thank you. Now, the next part is the major factor which affect capital structure decision making. Okay. Now, the first factor under capital structure decision making is financial leverages. I think we remember we have already covered up leverages part in the last classes. Okay. So can any one of you tell me what is financial leverages and how it is associated with capital structure? Yes, students. Anyone? How the capital structure decision making are associated with financial leverages? Because we have already covered up leverages chapter.
So if there is a more financial leverage, then the equity will be less.
Okay. Anyone else, please? Yes, students. Anyone else? How financial leverage are associated with the capital structure? Because what is financial leverage? It is burden of your interest and dividend or all the financial obligations. Okay. So if the company having fixed obligation, they have a higher financial leverage. Okay. Means if the company having higher debt, those companies are more risky. We discussed that in the last classes. And the company having lesser debt, they are comparatively less risky. So financial leverage will basically always guide you what type of risk which the company can digest, and accordingly they need to plan about their capital structure. Clear? First is financial leverages. Second is growth and stability of sales. Anyone? Because see, now this topic is very simple. How the growth and stability of sales can influence the decision making of debt and equity? Haji. You can see on my screen as well. If the sales are expected to remain fairly stable, you can go for higher debt. And the sales are fluctuating, then you must have to go for higher of equity. Why? Haji. Yes, students. Guys, please, I have a humble request with everyone. Please, more and more you interact, better would be the session, I think so. Otherwise, it would be only one-way delivery, which we are going right now. So I want you to interact as much as we can. Yes. So the known faces of the class, which I see daily basis, Poonam, Shipra, Gunjan recently joined. Mr. Aditya, I think it's your first class, might be.
Yes, this is my first class, sir. That's why I'm keep quiet.
Yes. So you can do one thing, sir. Actually, you can just go through the recorded classes.
Sure, sir.
Okay, because we are like on the verge to complete the syllabus of this particular subject.
Sure.
Okay, and if you have any query, you can just approach me. Fine.
Definitely. Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay, sure. Ms. Komal, Gunjan, Anuj, Satyan. I think Satyan, yes, it's your second class, so you might have a new link.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So anyone, please, more and more you interact, I think far better for me to have a great sessions actually, because it should be more of discussion as compared to a lecture delivery only. Yes, please, friends. Growth and stability of sales. See, try to understand, as I told you in the last classes, that debt and equity combination is totally based on the risk association which we have. Mr. Anuj, please kindly mute yourself. Yes. So when we discuss about the growth of the company, like for example, if the company is earning handsomely and there is not having much fluctuation when it's come to the revenue generation, in such a cases, the company may go for higher debt. Because as we discussed already, if the company will go for debt, it is advisable always to go for debt capital only when they have the very good earning potential throughout the longer period of time. But if the sales are fluctuating, if there are, you could say, a lot of inconsistency when it's come to revenue generation, the company always need to go for less of debt capital and more of equity capital. Is it clear, everyone? The growth and stability of sales.
Definitely, sir. Depending on the sales, the companies grow. Otherwise, the problem for the company.
Definitely, definitely. And if the company having good sales, definitely they can go for higher debt because they have a capacity to pay the interest payment.
Yes, all depending on the sales,
Definitely,
all
definitely.
growth, all the things. I think so.
Yes, definitely, sir. You are correct. Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll move to the third point now. That is cost of capital. Cost of capital, I think we discussed in the last class itself. What is cost of capital is basically the cost to acquire a particular source of fund or source of capital into organization. The company always needs to search for such sources from where you will generate or you will be able to accrue the capital on the lower rate of interest or lower dividend percentage, or you could say lower cost, we may say the better would be. Okay. Now, as we know that the equity capital or preference capital, or we talk about the debt capital. The debt capital is the cheapest source of capital source, debt capital. Okay. Then it's preference and the last is equity. Okay. So company need to decide this hierarchy, need to decide that position, whether they want to go for equity, preference or debt, depends on the cost consideration along with the control over decision making as well. That would be the part of your cost of capital. The next part we have, it is cash flow ability to service the debt. We discussed already about this, because if the company's cash flow are very stable, the company's cash flows are, you could say, on a good note, it is exponential in nature or having certain, you could say, considerable growth in that. In such a cases, the company may go for more debt as compared to equity. Opposite of that, if the company is facing, you could say, the scarcity or you could say the fluctuation in terms of their cash inflows, definitely they have to go for higher of equity as compared to debt in order to lower down their permanent burden of interest payment. Clear? Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes.
Now,
Okay.
next point is the point number 5, is about the nature and the size of the firm. As you know that if we talk about a government organization, a private company, an MSME, each and every company and their characteristics, or even if I can say that the commodity or services in which they are dealing with, accordingly they need to plan about their capital structure. If we talk about a public company, definitely public company are basically may actually go for higher debt as compared to equity because it is more being controlled by the government. Okay. When we discuss about the small companies, private companies, they always have to depend on more of the equity capital as compared to debt because of the uncertainty of the business cycle. Okay. So in such a cases, the nature, type, and the services and the product which the company is dealing with, on the basis of that as well, the company may decide what type of capital structure may suit to their need and the requirement of the organization. Clear? Anji, is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Next point is control. I told you already about control. In which case the control would be less, and in which case control would be on the higher side. Because when the
So
company
on
will go
equity-
for, yeah, tell me please.
Yes, sir. When the control will be more on equity, sir.
Why?
So because it is the company's own asset now. So that's why.
Hmm, 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 hmm. Because it is being managed by the company's owners only. And if, like, for example,
Yes,
80% equity, 20% debt you have. So 80% is
yes,
the on fund and 20% loan which we taken from the bank. Okay. So basically you have more control when it comes to decision making. So totally depends on the company's policy, whether they want to retain more control or if they want to lose control, definitely they need to lose equity as well. They need to lose ownership as well. Okay. So that is the controlling part. And on the basis of again the discussion of the company, what type of decision making they want to do, accordingly they can decide whether they have to go for higher debt or higher equity. Okay. Next is flexibility. Flexibility is all about alteration. I told you, I think we discussed about this. Okay. Whenever the company want to alter their needs, alter their requirement for the future, in such a cases, the company need to plan about their funding. Okay. Like for expansion, for diversification, or you could say for capacity utilization. In such cases, the company need to go for such a capital structure which may be alterable, which maybe you could say which may change as per the requirement of the economy, as per the requirement of the market condition. Okay, it is called flexibility. Means your capital structure should be flexible enough to make certain changes whenever it is required. Clear? Point number 8 now. Requirement of investors. Okay. Now you know that you can always attract potential investors and you have to retain the existing investors. When we discuss about the investor retention and investors, to attract the investors are basically most important activity in an organization. Okay. Now the requirement of investor is definitely they always concerned about the returns from the company or dividend which the company will declare. Okay, you can see the line which I mentioned. Investors who are overcautious prefer safety of investment. So debenture will satisfy their needs. Like now, the traditional person always save their money in the FDs, in PPF, in provident funds, in recurring deposit because they think that that would be the best investment they have because the return which they will generate out of it is always a short return they have 8%, 7% whatsoever. But if the investors are more aggressive, they are more risk bearing capacity they have, they can go for higher preference or equity share investment as compared to debt investment. Clear? I think. Next part is capital market condition. Capital market condition basically always deals with if the market is in boom. Okay, if the market is performing well, definitely you will go for higher equity and capital market investment. But if the market is on the downfall, definitely in such a cases you need to go for higher debt as compared to equity. Yeah. Next one is your asset structure. I'll complete all the points first, and then we'll just take a doubt from the students. Okay. Next part we have that is asset structure. Asset structure is all about what type of company characteristics we have. The very first part. What type of product you are dealing with or services you are dealing with. Like as we know that because if we talk about any service sector company, they have less fixed assets as compared to manufacturing company. Okay. So again, it totally depends on what type of company characteristics they have. Whether the company is service industry or a manufacturing industry or any other firm. According to that, the requirement of assets would be very, 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 very different. That is called the asset structure. And according to that, their capital structure will always vary. Is it clear, please? Still 10 points? I think so.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay.
Next one is period of financials. Now, period of financials are basically like that whenever we are acquiring debt capital, the debt capitals are always for limited period of time, 1 year, 2 years, max to max 3 years or 5 years. Okay. But when we talk about permanent capital, so what is the requirement of the company? If the company is looking for short-term capital, go for debt. If the company is looking for long-term capital, go for equity. Clear? The next one is purpose of financing. Okay. Now, when the company is looking for some productive purpose, productive means immediate investment they want and immediate return they want to generate. Like for example, if I got an opportunity to purchase a flat right now at 30 lakh rupees, actual costing is 50 lakh rupees. What I will do? Immediately I'll take the loan and I'll purchase in 30 lakh and might be in the next month I'll sell at 60 lakh rupees. So whenever, what is the basic purpose for which you are actually raising the fund or raising the debt from the market, and according to that, the purpose should be clear, first thing, and this purpose for which the particular company is taking the loan or the fund or the capital, it should generate the expected profit which the company is looking after. Okay. Next one, cost of flotation. Okay. Now, cost of flotation, I think I told you in the last class itself when we were discussing about cost of capital. Again, I'll repeat it once again. Cost of flotation means any type of cost which is required by the company to raise any type of capital, whether it's equity, debt, preference, or retained earnings. Okay. Now, in such a cases, as we know that the flotation cost will be always less in the equity as compared to, less in the debt in compared to equity. Because when we need to raise an equity, the company needs to go for higher flotation costs as compared to debt capital. Clear? The next one is personal consideration. Personal consideration is all about, like we discussed, I think we can see that if the company's management or the company's think tanks are basically more knowledgeable, experienced, and they have that, you could say, practical assessment of the situation in the company, definitely the company may have a different perspective to take a decision. But when the management is less experienced, they are conservative, they are, you could say, more, you could say, repulsive in nature. In such a cases, they will go for higher equity as compared to debt. So it totally depends on type of management we have, type of think tanks which belongs to our company. Okay. Next one is corporate tax rules. Corporate tax rule again will decide if the tax rate is on the higher side, go for more of equity and debt, because debt capital will always entitle for certain taxation calculation which we have. Okay. So higher rate of, you could say, when you talk about corporate taxes, okay, the company will go for higher debt financing because they need to pay higher tax on the equities. Okay, so in such a cases, if the corporate tax rules are higher, go for debt. If it is comparatively low, go for other options of financing. Is this part clear, please? We have discussed 15 factors of capital structure decision making. Hanji, any query, any doubt to anyone? Yes, students, please kindly confirm.
Yes, sir, you can continue.
Continue? Sure. Now, you could say the theories, because as I told you already, because there is no thumb rule about what should be the optimum capital structure. Okay. So the companies are basically following certain theories. Okay, there are 4 more points we have, I think. Let's move, I think, to the next part. The theories of capital structure, I think so. The company will always go for capital structure theories in order to decide what should be the correct combination of their capital, so that they can increase the value of the firm, they can actually maximize the share earnings, or you could say earning per share for the shareholder or investor, and they can attract more and more to the investors, potential investors towards company. Okay, the most important part about theories of capital structure is about this particular 4 basic theories we have. Okay, you can see that modern approach, traditional approach. Okay, so net income approach, net operating income approach, and Modigliani traditional approach, and approach, Modigliani and Miller approach. Okay, please note down this structure first. Today we'll try to cover up at least net income approach, and net operating income might be possible, I don't know. And remaining two will complete tomorrow's class. Okay. So 4 methods we have in this particular part. Shall we start? I think, yeah. Yes, students. Have you noted down these?
Yes.
Yes, sure. Now, before moving to any of these 4 theories of the capital structure, please note down all these 6 major assumptions before commencing to all those calculations. The first thing, whenever we are discussing any theories of capital structure, the important thing is that there are only 2 sources of capital, that is debt and equity. That is debt and equity. Okay. There is no change in the investment decisions. The second assumption which we need to keep in mind. Okay. The third part, there is no retained earning. Whatever profit is the company is earning, everything must be distributed among the shareholders. Okay. The profit which the company earns is always given to you, and it is always expected to grow. Okay. When we discuss about the 5th point, the business risk is always given to you. Okay. And it will not affect the financing mix. I mean, the financing mix you cannot change, and there is no corporate and personal tax. Because usually when we discuss about the practical implications, there are certain, you could say disadvantages, or we can say less practical approach when it comes to discussion about this theory. Make sure among these 4 theories, this 4th one is the major part which we need to discuss, because it is the scientific theory we have. The remaining 3 would be, you could say, more a traditional approach about the net capital structure theory. Clear? Is it clear, please, everyone? Yes, students, please kindly confirm. Is this part clear, assumptions part? Hanji. Yes, students, is it clear? Please kindly confirm. Assumptions?
Yes, sir. Please move.
Yeah, sure. Now, the first method we have, that is about the net income approach. Okay. Now, what the net income approach suggests, first of all, or what is the basic guidelines or basic, you could say, rules which suggest about the capital structure decision making. First of all, this net income approach is given by Durant. And according to this approach, you can see that the company is basically focusing on valuation of the firm. Okay, not what is valuation, first of all, that you can see over here. A change in the capital structure leads to a corresponding change in overall cost of capital as well as total value of the firm. As I told you already, because whenever the company want to change their capital structure, like on debt to equity, higher debt, more equity, lower debt, higher equity, whatsoever, and whenever the company will change their capital structure, it will definitely change its cost of capital, first of all, and that cost of capital will change the value of the firm. Now, these value of the firm may be positive, may be negative, depends on type of changes or the what type of changes being incorporated into your capital structure. Okay. Now, if the company will go for more debt finances, definitely they are reducing their overall cost of capital. As I told you, because debt is the cheapest source of finance. Okay. And it will increase the value of the firm. So net income approach always says that whenever the company will change any changes in the capital structure, it will change the company's cost of capital, and it will, in turn, it will change the value of the firm. Okay. And when the company use more debt finances, it will basically reduce the cost of capital of the company and definitely increase the value of the firm. Okay. Now, this net income approach is based on these three assumptions. The first one, there is no corporate taxes. The cost of debt, that is KD, if you remember, cost of debt is always less than cost of equity. That's why we are saying that the cost of debt is very less as compared to equity. Okay. The use of debt does not change the risk perception of the investor, because when the company will use the debt, it will actually increase their risk proportion. Okay, but by using higher debt, it will not change the perception of the investor. Okay. Hanji, is it clear? Is it clear? Now with this formula, the company can check the value of the firm. That is about the market value of equity and market value of debt. Okay. Now market value of equity can be calculated by net income, that is earning available to equity shareholder, upon cost of equity. Please note on all this formula and then we'll start first numerical. I hope so it is clear what is net income approach. Yes, friend, please note on fast. Yes, and done. Students, please kindly confirm. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, fine. So now we're taking only 5 minutes of break. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We'll get back to you at 6:05 sharp and we'll discuss the numerical of this topic. Is it okay, everyone?
Okay.
Yeah, a short break of 5 minutes. We'll get back to you at 6:05 sharp. Fine.
भारतीन पावस येता तो हॅलो कृष्ण किरें हॅलो हॅलो किरें आ किरें वॉइस ब्रेक जाता
Yes, we can start now. Yes, Mr. Mandar, please kindly mute yourself. And Mr. Aditya.
Yes.
Mr. Mandar, please kindly maintain the class, and please, I have to mute you now. Okay. So the screen is visible, I think. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
No.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yes. So I think what we discussed in the net income approach, can anyone sum up? What is net income approach? What exactly the statement of net income approach? And what it proposes actually?
It is a total of debt and equity value.
Yes.
Net income.
And if the company, yeah, because when we discuss about the net income approach, we always need to go for company's valuation. Valuation means total of equity, total of debt. Okay. Now, net income approach always suggests you that whenever the company want to change any capital structure or their capital structure, they need to think about cheapest source of capital first of all. Okay, that is debt. And if they are increasing debt, definitely it will change the cost of capital and somehow it will increase the value of the firm. So it totally depends on the firm structure and firm's earning potential. According to that, the company may decide what type of necessary changes which they have to do in their capital structure. Is it clear? Okay.
Yes.
Now you can see that the calculation of this particular value of the firm is total of debt and total of equity. That is S plus B. Total of debt and total of equity. I think you remember in the last classes we discussed all this calculation, how to go for calculation of cost of debt and cost of equity. Okay. If any one of you missed the classes, please go through the recorded session in order to have a look of all such calculation of cost of debt and cost of equity. Okay. Now, the basic structure, how to calculate the value of the firm under net income approach, we have to use this format. Okay, please note on the format first and then we'll start the first question. The format used to calculate value of the firm under net income approach. Under net income approach. Okay. Yes, please everyone note down fast. Then we'll start the first numerical of this topic. I'll request everyone, please kindly keep yourself muted until it's not required. Yes, students, please kindly maintain the decorum of the class. We are well matured and well sensible guys, I think so, in the class. So please, kindly reflect the same. Yes, students, have you noted down, please, this format?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Okay.
Okay, continue.
Yes, sir. Now, the numerical, or you could say the calculation, how a particular value of the firm can be calculated under the traditional approach, or under, you could say, the most basic approach about net income calculation. Okay, so let's see this question right now. You can see this question right now. The expected EBIT, that is earning before interest and tax, is 80,000. It has 2 lakh 8% debentures. The equity capitalization rate of the company is 10%, that is KE is given to you. Calculate the value of the firm, the capital V, and overall capitalization with the help of method net income approach. Okay. First of all, I think if you remember the capital, I told you in the last class itself, because once we'll start the capital structure topic, your cost of capital and capital budgeting should be very, very thorough. Okay. Otherwise, you will definitely face some problem in this particular topic. Okay. Now, the basic calculation which we have to go for is the value of the firm we need to calculate. That is total of equity, total of debt. Okay. So you can see that first of all, I'll go for the calculation of your net profit. So EBIT minus interest. What is interest basically? 8% of 2 lakh. That is total debenture we have of 2 lakh, and company is liable to pay fixed liability of 8% interest. So that is 16,000. So actual profit available is only 64,000. Okay. Now, whenever we have to calculate the cost of equity or the value of equity, the formula is NI upon KE, income upon KE. Okay. So very simple. Income is 64. KE is 10%, matlab 0.10. It would be 6.4 lakh. And what is debt? 2 lakh. So total value is 8.4 lakh. 6 lakh 40,000 is the equity and 2 lakh is the debt. 8.4 lakh. Now, if the company have to calculate the total or the overall cost of capital or overall capitalization of the company, okay, so that will be total earning 80,000 upon total value of the firm. It is 8.4. So 80 upon 8.4, that will give you 9.52%. Very simple. You should make sure, if you haven't attended the classes of cost of capital and capital budgeting, this question may, you could say, create some challenges for you. Okay. But still, this is a very basic question we are discussing right now about net income approach. I hope so this part is clear.
Okay.
Sir, one question.
Yeah, tell me please.
You are saying your EBITDA is 80,000 and this 2 lakhs are where you get, sir, this 2 lakh you are saying?
It is a debt capital, 2 lakh.
Okay.
2 lakh of 8%, because the combination of debt and equity we have. Okay.
Okay.
Equity capitalization we can calculate from the actual earning available for equity shareholder divided by equity capitalization. That is 6.4 lakh. So total equity is, value of equity is 6.4. Total debt.
One more question. See, EBITDA calculation like that for total earning like 80,000 minus your operating cost, then come to the EBITDA. You are considering entire earning as a EBITDA. How it is possible, sir?
Entire earning.
See, you are saying firm earning is 80,000 and entire 80,000 you consider as EBITDA, correct now?
EBIT.
Yeah, EBITDA. That is called that. Yeah. Okay. And see, like we are working the organization. So in my organization like that, they EBITDA calculating based on the total earning of the earning minus expenditure come to EBITDA.
Yes.
But here it comes complete amount to consider as EBITDA, sir. So little bit confusion. Can you clarify?
Actually, sir, like what you were telling is basically the calculation after meeting all the operating expenses. Okay,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what we did for equity. I think
Okay.
you just go through with my lectures previously, which we had in capital. No, in leverages. Okay, in
Okay.
leverages we have a sequence of flow of income. Okay,
Okay.
whatever
Okay.
income it is available, which is 80,000.
Yeah.
This income is basically for debt shareholders or debt security holders, preference share and equity. This it is
Okay.
for total income. But
Okay.
out of this, the first preference is always given to interest.
Okay.
That is about the debt capital holder or debt shareholders. Okay.
Okay.
Whatever left afterwards, it is for preference and equity. And
Okay.
as you know that there is no preference in this question, so whatever earning is available is for equity. And
Okay.
that's why, first of all, we are going only on equity because we need to calculate the value of equity capital right now.
Okay.
But the second question in the part is that overall capitalization means the overall value of the firm. In this case, we need to consider complete income of the company.
Okay.
That's why it is 80 upon 8.4.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You're right about it, sir, because the calculation which the part you're discussing right now, because sir, try to understand, because when we discuss about the valuation approach, because I'm going a bit advanced right now.
Okay.
When we discuss the valuation approach,
Hmm.
there are basically certain methodology, and like we talk about, let's for example, if you're considering in the Indian context, we have different perspective to calculate the value of the firm. Some companies may consider interest, some companies may not. Okay, so in such a cases, there is a different, you could say, approach through which how the valuation model can be created.
Okay.
Okay, and it differ from country to country as well.
Sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, students, is this part clear?
Yes, sir.
Students, is this part clear?
The value of equity is 64,000 divided by.
Cost of capitalization, ma'am. That is K is 10%.
Okay, sir. Okay.
The formula we have already, like SI equal to NI upon KE. Earning for equity upon cost of equity. Means basically this cost of equity, capitalization is all about by what percentage the value of the equity will rise in the company. Capitalization percentage it is. So you got 10%, आपका 64 है, so 100% would be 6.4. Clear?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure. Shall we move to the next question if it is done?
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue, sir.
Now there is one more, you could say, changes. Like in this similar question, if the value of the firm, if debenture is raised to 3 lakh, okay, for example, here it was only 2 lakh, but if the debenture is raised to 3 lakh, can you please give me the answer of overall capitalization? Right now it is only 2, but if it is increased by 1 lakh more, that is 3 lakh. In such a cases, what will be the changes into the calculation or into the value of the firm?
सर एक तो इंटरेस्ट चेंज हो जाएगा,
हाँ मैम,
दूसरा
आंसर.
इंटरेस्ट चेंज हो जाएगा.
हम्म.
इंटरेस्ट आपका आ जाएगा 3 लाख का 8% आ जाएगा 24,000
हम्म.
और 24 हाँ.
और वैल्यू ऑफ द इक्विटी कितना आएगा? Value of equity should be 5.6 lakh because you have more interest burden this time. हाँ जी. Everyone please suddenly solve for 3 lakh this time.
Sir, 9.3.
Yes, pardon?
Hello. 9.3.
9.3. Yeah, correct. 9.3 percentage.
Okay.
Value of equity is 5.6. 3 is that. 8.6 is the value of the firm. And 80 upon 8.6 is 9.3. Clear? Everyone, this should be the answer. Is this part clear, please, everyone?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, sure. I'm giving you one very basic question, one more question of this, because this variety we'll discuss today. And because I think so, this topic might take Monday as well. Okay, because approach, net operating income. Okay, it will take some time to explain because it's a numerical topic. Okay, so let's discuss one basic question right now, and tomorrow we'll start net operating income. Fine. So the question is, there are basically 4 firms we have. Okay, let me draw the table. I think so. No. Okay, there are 4 firms we have: X, Y, Z, and W. Okay. Now these firms, first of all, the valuations are given to you. 1 minute. The EBIT, I think, 1 minute, please. These are the firms. This is EBIT, interest, and KE, cost of equity. There are 4 firms: X, Y, Z, W. Okay. EBIT of this one is 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakh, and 6 lakh. Interest is 20,000, 60,000, 2 lakh, and 2.4 lakh. Okay. K is given to you is 12%. Okay. 16%, 15%, and 18%. Okay. There's a question we have, I think. Now we need to calculate the value of the firm of all 4. First of all, the first thing. Okay. And overall cost of capital. So the calculation which we have to do is calculate V and KO. That is overall cost of capital. I hope that is clear, students. I'm waiting for the answers of value of the firm of or for and overall cost of capital. I'm waiting for the answers, please. Same calculation you have to do. firm X, Y, then Z, then W, and tell me the value of the firm.
सर
मैम वही
डेट
तो
की
निकालना
वैल्यू
है
क्या
हमें
है?
मेन, क्योंकि अगर 10% आपका अगर
अच्छा
हाँ
डेट
लिसन अगर आपका जो ये वैल्यू दिया है आपको दैट इज इंटरेस्ट, ओके, इट इज 10%, ओके, हाँ सॉरी,
अच्छा इसको 10% अज्यूम करना है.
no assume नहीं करना, it is given in the question, it is 10%, okay, so if it is 10%, what
10% ऑफ डेट.
100%, हाँ जी, yes, if 10 is this much,
ठीक है
what should be the 100%? Yes, accordingly you can
ओके
calculate.
ओके ठीक है ओके.
Go for it, please. Because the same way what you solved in the first, yes, tell me. हाँ जी,
V is 20 lakh.
20 lakh for firm X.
Value of equity, EBIT divided by 0.10.
Sir, I'm extremely sorry. Actually, your voice is not at all clear to me. Actually, I'm not able to hear you. You can just check your mic. I think so. Might be some issues in that.
Yes, maybe. What is the formula for V? It is value of equity, that is
Plus value
EBIT
of
divided
it.
by 0.10.
That is for value of equity. That is about the earning divided by K. Earning divided by K. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so you can,
How much?
for me, it is coming 20 lakhs. Is it right? Sir? Value of equity, that is EBIT divided by 0.10. That is 10%.
Yes. See, the first one, the value of your equity would be 15 lakh and debt is 2 lakh. Okay, so total value would be 17 lakh for firm X. I'm talking right now. For firm X.
Okay.
सर हेलो.
Yes.
सर 11.76 x.
It is the for X, no?
11. X company.
X would be
11.76.
11.59.
Why? 2 lakh divided by 17,000. 2 lakh divided by 17 lakh multiply 100. 11.76.
2 lakh.
I can. 2 lakh.
Yeah,
is
2 lakh.
2 lakh is
2 lakh
EBIT,
divided
na?
by 17 lakh. Yes.
हाँ 11.76 ना.
No, in book it is 11.59. 1 minute, let me check. 2 lakh divided by 17 lakh.
One
Okay.
minute. I
Mhm,
I recalculate.
2 lakh divided
नहीं
by
सर सही है मेरा, आपका गलत है.
11.76. No, actually in book it is 11.59.
कोई बात नहीं.
Yes, perfect. Go for B.
Next is 14.29.
That is correct.
Third is 12.50.
Yes,
The fourth is 13.63. Okay.
perfect. Yes. Understood, I think so. You this topic.
Yes sir. मेरे को डिविडेंड डिसीजन बस थोड़ा रिवाइज करना है.
Definitely, ma'am. Definitely. Don't worry. Like by the end of the month, you will be great.
सर
Good in
पेपर
this
शुरू हो
particular
जाएंगे
subject.
सर मार्च में.
That's great, na?
पता नहीं कभी भी मेल आ सकती है.
It's good for the students, but relaxing for the faculty. Yes, what about the students? Any one of you got the answer? It is similar to the first question we discussed actually. Not having much changes. हाँ जी. Yes, friends, I am waiting for the responses, please. Is it done? Because it's similar to the previous question, okay? Because the next method is net operating income and that will start from tomorrow only.
Okay.
Yes, friends?
Okay, sir.
Okay, fine. So is it clear, please, everyone? This topic, net income is a theory part of your capital structure decision making. That's what we have covered up today. Is there any more doubts, any more queries from today's topic? Anju. Any more queries? No? No? Perfect. So shall we sign out for the day? And tomorrow we might cover up NOI and MM approach. Okay, so it might be it will take, I think, this next lecture and Monday half lecture might be it will require to complete this topic. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Any more? Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Shall we sign out then for the day? If there is no more query from this particular topic. Please kindly confirm, students.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. We'll catch you tomorrow
Okay.
with the next. Yeah. Thank you so much.